right, Seth, you're a part of our leadership team.
I am. Yeah.
Yes, you've been a part of this process. I'm wondering, could you succinctly, because I know we could spend a lot of time talking about this, could you succinctly just walk us through this entire vision framing process to give us an idea of what that looked like?
Yeah. So we started about November of last year, I believe. And we had once a month, we would meet as a lead team with the pastors, and there was an outside consultant who came in that was brought to us by our denomination or our conference. Yeah. And we really wanted to look at what does our church, what defines who we are already, and what defines where we are going, and how can we focus in on where we're going. And so we spent a lot of time thinking about, like, what are the things that we hold dear to us? What are the things that we want to go towards? Which is when we started with the restoring lives to joy-filled wholeness was that piece there. And as we worked more and more, then we started to say, okay, now that we know who we are, what does it look like? Where are we wanting to go? And so that's when you hear the story there where we, in May, we had done this for 6-8 months, somewhere in that range. We sat down in May and we said, okay, we're going to split in half and let's see what is the vision where we want to say in 5 years, what's the big picture? And coming to this idea of the space that not only are we helping things grow, but those things are helping things grow and growing and growing and growing. And we both came to the exact same picture, which was just so exciting. And then we were able to kind of narrow in our focus and say, okay, if that's where we want to be, what does it mean for us to be in each of these steps? And so that's where we get this tighter vision here that you see above me.
Yeah. Can you share a little bit, what was the role of the Spirit, and how was prayer so much a part of this entire process? And how have you seen that play out?
So one of the huge pieces is that if we're just making decisions on our own about who we are the blind leading the blind. It's probably the best way of saying that, where we don't know where we're going and we're just doing the things that we think are good for us. Yeah. And so really a huge part of this was just trying to discern where the Spirit was leading us and how we depend on God in these various pieces.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is that, you know, we can have our own preferences, even our own thoughts about where Jesus is taking us as a church, but we want to be a church that is really focused on Jesus. Where do you want to take us?
Yep.
Who do you want us to become?
Which is why we are led by the Spirit over there.
There you go, led by
values.
the Spirit. Part of our core values, right? How do you see this vision process unfolding and continuing to play out moving forward? What's happening now, and how does this continue to?
One of the really exciting things is that we've been able to say, okay, if this is where we want to go, what are the things that we want to focus on right now? And kind of taking the time to say, are the things that we're doing things that are bringing us towards our vision of being a place that helps people grow and helps people grow people? And so then we've been able to kind of focus in and say, like, okay, well, this piece isn't really helping serve that vision, but this piece is. And so let's take some of the time and the resources we're putting here and put them over here. And that's been a really exciting process of just like everything that we're doing now, instead of being like, hey, we like doing this thing and we like doing this thing, kind of focuses in on one goal.
Can you share just a little bit about the 90-day priorities and how that kind of ties in?
So every 90 days, we sit down, and we're doing it tomorrow, actually, and we say, okay, our one-year vision, this is our one-year vision. What do we need to do in the next 90 days to realize our one-year vision? And so the first 90 days, we had, figuring out, like, what does it mean for the children's ministry and all of those pieces. We had all these different parts that are like, how do these individual pieces point us towards this direction? And then once we're done with those 90 days, then we can say, okay, we've done this work. How do we incorporate this work into what we're doing now to keep pushing us towards that one-year vision? So we're not taking a wandering path to hopefully get over here. We're not wandering around, but we're focusing our efforts.
Yeah. All right. Seth, final question for you, then we're going to have a few other interviews, but can you maybe just share a way that you see us as a church already living into this vision? I think you've hit on that again.
Yeah.
But maybe is there a tangible example that you have seen?
So I think some of it is I help out with the youth, and so that's a huge part for us. But taking the time as youth leaders to say, when we're doing things, what is our vision? Why are we doing what we're doing? And is it serving the purposes that we want it to serve? And taking the time to go with the things that we are like, this is a given, we're going to do this, and pausing and saying, is this really doing what we want it to do? And I think that's been a really good piece to just focus in on what are the important parts of our ministry there.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Seth. Can we give Seth a round of applause?